Hi guys, just thought I'd do a bit of a live update today. I've just got to find where you are so I can see your chats. Okay. Um, yeah, a couple of people have asked me if I'm still alive because I've been a bit quiet lately. I have to admit, one of the problems right now is a lot of the Spaniards are still on holiday. They sort of shut down for the month, which really messes up your sleep pattern. The reason I say that is it's like yesterday. Uh, They're talking really loud in the street at 3 or 4 in the morning because somebody was going home or whatever. So they just shout for about an hour. But it's the same when they're coming in and out the block, slamming the door. So it disrupts your sleep. And I know a few people have mentioned it before, in the sense that they've had problems with the noise, but it affects your sleeping pattern terribly. But that's my first time I've actually been here during this time because I'm normally working or doing something else where I don't really get disrupted by it. Um, it's been an interesting time because obviously the schools are on holiday still as well. I've got to admit the school holiday is far too long for the kids. The kids are bored. Although there's a lot of stuff to do, it's a bit too hot to be doing a lot of it. So it's keeping the kids occupied, which is another issue you get because obviously if the kids are bored, then they're trying to find something to do. You're trying to keep them off the gadgets, but at the same time, um, then they're not going to sleep till about 1 o'clock in the morning either. But obviously, it's still very hot as well, which is another reason a lot of people ain't sleeping. I know um, Anna, Peter, and Anna, she's had the same issue. That a lot of people just don't sleep till late at night because, well, A, it's Spain, but B, it's been a bit hot to actually go to bed. Um, so you get things like that disrupt your working patterns. But then I've obviously still been working as well. I don't know if the audio is okay. So if the audio is good or bad, let me know. I'll just move the mic a bit closer. Because one of the things I have been doing is working online. Me and Carlos have been working on some call center stuff, which is paying the bills. I mean, I've got to admit, I don't like doing it. I find it a bit tedious and boring. But at the same time, pays the bills. Now, the good thing is, which is one of the reasons I bring it up, is that it doesn't matter where you are in the world. So because a lot of the markets are the US side, you could actually be living in the UK, for example, and doing a few hours on the night, because a lot of it is around creating business to business relationships, and well, it's predominantly business to business, not what do you call it, consumer calls. So a lot of it is about business development. Glenn Roberts, hi Matt. It's 33 degrees in Kent today. How are you? I'm good. I'm good. It's hot here. I'm not sure what it is today. Let's have a look. La Mata weather today. Yeah, it's 33 degrees here. So spot on. Although looks like on Tuesday we got a bit of thunderstorm and rain, which is nice. That was a funny thing the other night because I was picking some friends up from the airport. I got back and I couldn't find anywhere to park. I mean, at the moment I'm parked on the beach, but it was heavy rains later, and I got up about 4 or 5 in the morning because I could hear the heavy rain. I thought better move my car. Went down there and it's about this deep in water. Not the car, but the rain had started to cut a channel on the beach, so I sort of dragged the car out and moved it a bit further up. Luckily enough, there was a bit of space. But that's the other thing this time of year in La Mata. Parking's horrendous unless you've got an apartment or something with underground parking. Brown trout fisherman, audio is perfect, fantastic. I use this big Yeti mic, by the way. It's a bit of a beast, but it's very good. Yeah, Minky Flicker hot in painting, Devon. I bet I've been there a few times painting. It's quite a nice little place to be. Yeah, I bet that's scorching down there, but been down there for a few holidays over the years. Why painting? Also went there for work. Actually, we were doing some modifications to a petrol station in Paynton many years ago. yeah, probably about 25 years ago. But yeah, painting is quite a nice place. I like that. One of the things I'm going to do as well today, which if I go back to, I'm going to go through some of the questions because I get a lot of questions. I think, you know what, I'll put them in. What I'll do is I'll put them in the video because then I can update them as we go through as well. But one of the things I want to say is the online working. There is work out there if you look for it. Nobody's going to give it to you. And I used to get frustrated with people with this on the call center stuff because I used to say to them, I says, look, if I'm going to give you the work, then why would I give it to you? Because I'm doing all the effort. I might as well just keep it myself. And it's not been a negative. This is somebody wanting to start a call center, then go, can you give me all my clients? And it's like, no, you have to go and find them because it's about client relationships. You've got to build those things. But when it's one or two people, for example, if me and Carlos come across something and we knew you could do it, we'll quite happily refer that way. But a lot of the time, it's people like will say, Matt, I need this. And it's like, but I've never met you. I don't know you. So it makes it very difficult to help sometimes. But websites like Freelancer, I haven't used it for a long time, but Freelancer may have some stuff on there. Pay per hour is one a couple of people are using. They say there's a lot of stuff out the UK. Upwork is one I use. You'll struggle to get on Upwork, to be honest. I had an account when Upwork was new, so my account on there since I think it's 2012 or something. So the point being is, then they don't seem to be verifying new accounts. I think they become more selective because they get a lot of the race to zero stuff, which is just atrocious. Because this is what happened with Amazon Turks. There's another one to look at, Amazon Turks, which is micro tasks most of the time. But the point being is, Amazon Turks was getting overrun by people doing it on the cheap, but then the quality was dire. And then obviously the clients go, okay, they're cheap, but it's absolute garbage and I can't find the right people. So then they locked it down to the US market for a while. But you can get on Amazon Turks now. But the point being is, I think Upwork's gone the same way because the quality was dropping. They've sort of been a lot more stringent. And obviously if you've got a strong customer base and client base, in the sense of if you can guarantee the quality already with people like myself that are already on there, do you really need to water our work down with new people coming into it where you can't guarantee the quality? Well, from a client point of view, they just want it done. They want it done at a specific rate and they're looking for the quality side. So if they've got enough user base in there, I don't know if they'll reopen it, but I don't know the business, but that's what I see is why they've done it that way, is because the quality was dropping. But there's definitely work out there. Jan Majowski. Hi, Matt. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hope all's going well for you. That's a good point. JC, do I know the tobacco shop is open in La Mata on a Sunday? Yeah, let me have a look. I don't think it is, though. I think it might be open for certain times of the day. I'll have a quick look while I'm here. Expenditure. Just double checking. I'm not sure if it's going to give me the today. Yeah, there's no information. I'm not sure because it might be open just partial hours if it's open today, but I'm not 100% sure. Also, you get Sunday trading now and again, so there's some weird rules sometimes because they were trying to ban working on Sunday, then they open for the summer, and so sometimes things just change. So I'm not sure on that one, but I'm sure I've seen them open on Sunday, but I'm not sure they're open part day or whatever. And also, they may be open this week and not next week. Who knows? Like many things on the internet relating to a lot of the businesses, they don't put their hours. They don't put a lot of information, which would have actually given more customers. But Glyn Roberts, have you got permanent residency in Spain? No, I'm a resident of Spain, but not permanent resident. So yeah, I mean, I'm a resident, officially a resident of Spain, which I think after X amount of years I can become a permanent resident. But at the moment, just resident. JC, thanks, Matt. So what about Sunday lunch place? Funny enough, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and I do think there is a market for Sunday lunches in La Mata. Nobody really does it that I'm aware of, which is, living here, I would be surprised if I didn't know about it already. But I do find that a lot of the restaurants in other locations like Orihuela and Casada that do Sunday lunches, some of them won't even do walk-ins because they're that busy. So yeah, Sunday lunches is something I recommend somebody set up with. Yeah, and it's hot in West Bromwich. I don't remember ever being hot in West Bromwich. I used to work near where was I? I was working up with Integral Services up that way. I'd never remember being hot ever. I remember it being cold. I remember, I remember working outdoors and when it was freezing. But I never remember being hot in West Brom. Yeah. Well, let me just find the questions. So, what else has everybody been up to this weekend? If anybody's got any other questions, someone can answer. Please feel free to add them. I'll just open this up, then I'll go over a few topics as well. Come on. Those questions. Found them. Okay, the first question going down. Francis Hughes mentions about the new website. Yeah, we started. I own Torre La Mata, which is torre-la-mata.com. I bought a while back, but I never really did much with it. But I'm starting to put more stuff on it these days. Because I do think La Mata's sort of growing. There seems to be a lot more interest in it, and as a location to retire and live. And I want to sort of develop that in a way which got a lot more information for people that want to live out here. I mean, a few people asked about car hire, for example. Now, car hire is something I don't do because I've got a car. But at the same time, I want to sort of put maybe a rating system on there so people can put, the experiences they've had on there with different companies. Because I know some people are very negative in a sense. I'm in some of the name and shame groups in Facebook around Spain, and you find some of the people really didn't have anything to complain about. Don't get me wrong, there's some absolute nightmare things going on there. But at the same time, there's some where you're going, really? Why are you complaining about that? That's not, somebody taking the air conditioning remote for the old air conditioning, assuming they're going to take a 20-odd-year-old air conditioning and reinstall it somewhere. They were just disposing of it. It's all to do with the gas recoveries and things like that. But also, I'll quite happily leave, if you want me to come and install an air conditioning and leave all the crap with you, I'll happily do it. I'll let you get rid of it. I'm happy for that. That's fantastic. But what I find weird is when people sort of have those things, then complain afterwards. They didn't go to him, hey, where's my remote for my TV? Or why are you taking the air conditioning? They just stick it on Facebook. Well, with putting the reviews on there, at least people can actually turn around and say, come on, the car wasn't scratched when I got it. One of the things I do recommend it if you're hiring cars, take photos all around, and then, get everything agreed, record everything. Because then you go, oh, there's a scratch. Just record the video even and say, look, can you see that little scratch there? So better put that down. Check the wheels, because the alloy wheels is where you'll get little dents in it, and they'll try and charge you for a wheel. But they're often dented anyway. I mean, I got that on my company cars in the UK with the last company I worked with. Yeah, I've never had a issue with a car at all in a company car in over 20 years. But the last 2 cars I had with the same company had faults. And I'm like, but I don't even drive this car. The car has only been driven for 3 days. I don't understand how it's been dented on a wheel or whatever. So that's why you've got to take photos and stuff. Ching, ching, ching. You've got all the information. There's nothing to argue about. Just assume that they're going to try and fleece you. I know it might sound a bit wrong, but if you go with that attitude, a lot of the time they're coming with all the, hey, don't worry about that. It'll all be fantastic. And when you come back, they go, oh, that dent wasn't there. It was. We talked. No, I don't remember us talking about it. We called everything. So I want to try and do that so you can maybe a little bit of a guide on what to look for when hiring a car as well. Car insurance and all the other bits and pieces that people want. So I want to develop that. Mal Bronson, any interest in the no money down properties? There's a lot of interest in the no money down properties. The problem is the locations for most people. If you are interested in that, ask Mal, because I get asked for it for La Mata and whatever, which is a little bit more difficult because a lot of the people around here aren't really engaging in it, don't really understand it. But also, I'm sure that a lot of people will sit there and go, I'll do it after this holiday season, and then they rake it all in for the holiday season and then leave it empty for the winter again. So yeah, here it's a bit more difficult. But if you are interested, ask Mal, because Mal knows a fair bit about that. But it's also something I'm looking at expanding out on the websites, because this is something I want to discuss today, actually, funny enough. I'm going to drink a little bit of my coffee, so apologies for that, but it's starting to get a bit cold. Okay, well, I've been thinking about this the last month, because one of the things I'm interested in doing is actually buying our first apartment here in Spain. Now, we're still going to be living in this one, because the owner doesn't want to sell it for another year. And to be honest, we actually want to buy this one. So what I'm going to look at doing is buying another one and renting it out for the probably initially the holiday season, then annual. The reason being is the holiday season, I can earn as much as I would in a few months for the whole year, where if I can get it right, where it's the first few months, holiday season, and then rent it for a full annual afterwards, it means that I should actually near enough manage to double the revenue for a year. Now, I've been looking at the mortgage rates and things on that, and there's opportunities in there. One of the things I would say is look at how much you're putting in. Look at how much the rentals are on Airbnb. For example, one of the ones we're managing at the moment is 3-bedroom, nice apartment, but you can get up to nearly €100 a day in the holiday season for renting that out because it's in La Mata. And one of the things you will find in this area, which is what I was sort of mentioning with Mal, is what we get here is people ask, how far are you from the beach, pretty much, is the number one question, because they're predominantly coming here on holiday. So one of the things you will get if you're looking at buying to rent it out is quite simply, how far are you from the beach? You get that, you'll find that being in La Mata, you're going to have no problems renting it out. I also find in La Mata, we don't really have too much crime issues. We don't have really, squatter issues. We don't really have, nothing's really problematic. And obviously the infrastructure's improved and we've got fast internet now. Ideally, it'd be good to have the apartment above us, because A, it's easy to manage, but B, we can actually use our internet for both. Saves on costs. But the point being is there is a rental market, and a few people have mentioned about the Brexit thing. Push that to one side, because the media focus in the UK is predominantly just about the UK. The EU is Europe, but it's a bit like the apartment rentals we've been doing. I think, yeah, I mean, Ireland is as close as we've got to the UK. They predominantly are French, Spanish, Russian, German, Swedish, Dutch. They're coming from all over the place. So the assumption that that will end all this, it isn't. It's overvaluing the reality. Reality is, although the UK has a big foothold in the tourism market for Spain, there is a lot of other countries that come here. And if you're marketing to everybody, not really going to have any issues. And like I said, it's more focused on the beach here rather than looking at one of the British communities or something. I know some people like to be in those places. Myself, it's not for me. I'd rather, I like it here. And I do think the market here is fairly stable in the sense of there's many reasons for people to come here on holiday. So even if you can't get people all year round, you can make it in a few months of the year. I mean, you could actually rent an apartment out here and then live in it yourself, the other months. So the point being is it's viable. So I'm going to try and do more on the property side for that as well, because although I'm looking at doing it myself, I'm coming across a few properties where I look at it and go, don't touch that with a barge pole. Come across some where the prices are right or they're slightly above, but because of if you put the initial deposit and everything down on the monthly basis, it's viable. You might get an extra third over the mortgage at the moment. Personally, I would just actually bank the first year for any repairs and stuff, and then the following year I'd hammer it all on the mortgage. Depends how you set up. If you've got spare cash, I recommend putting it all on the mortgage and get the mortgage paid off as quick as possible. I'm not a fan of debt. That's just the way I am. I don't like debts. And my personal view, I would like to get the first apartment, half of it paid off, then buy another one, and then use the two to just keep all the debts down. Glenn Roberts, how are the Torrevieja services coming along? Interesting one. The Torrevieja service is still growing. We actually got some new sites. Give me a second. Just try not to spill my coffee. Be right back. Okay, so the business cards are actually here, in the sense of the mail place has got it somewhere. They were supposed to deliver yesterday. There's been a few people grumble about the same thing, because they send you messages going, we're delivering at this time, and then you turn up and they don't. But these actually turned up only about 2.5 months late. But these ones are magnetic ones. But I wanted to get the first sample out, because it looks like because I've got to do a bit more work on this, because it's a little bit blurry. Quality's okay, but I could do it better. So Torrevieja Services is growing. Been working with somebody else on the aircon side, because personally I think I need to do a little bit more in the UK on the aircon. Because although I can do it, I need to. This is what I'm sort of looking at the moment of going back to the UK for a bit. Firstly, if I go back to the UK very soon, the money I've got banked at the moment, I've got enough for half of a small apartment in cash. So it'd be a 1 to 2 bed. So I've got enough there to actually buy one, if I can drop straight into work. Now, obviously, I'm going to need 3 months pay slips as well. So by December, this gets back to the holiday season, you see. It wouldn't actually go through by the time I got all the paperwork till probably February. But also at the same time, got more money to pay the mortgage off as well. So the longer it sort of delays into next year, it's not really bothering me because I work in the UK a bit. I can pay a chunk of it off. So by the time I actually do go to buy it, half of it may already have been paid. The other side of that being is gearing up with the air conditioning stuff, because I need to get some more tools. I'm also thinking of getting a van as well, because at the moment I've got the car, but it's not big enough to be bringing air conditioning units in and out. So I'm sort of umming and ahhing on that because I had so many problems so many problems with the vehicles here in Spain. It's sort of, unless I can find somebody that's selling one I know and know the vehicle, I'm a bit wary about buying another vehicle. Oh, hang on, where's that? So I'm just checking something. Yeah, so it's going to be a step forward. I mean, the thing is, like with Torrevieja services, you can't just sort of jump in and start it. It takes time, and it's a bit like with the restaurant thing. You know, getting that restaurant viable properly would take about a year. It's missed this season, and the guy that owns it's pushing for this and that, and I'm like, you missed the holiday season. You really want to start in January. Myself, I would just mothball it and come back to it in January, but reevaluate it, refit the kitchen, prepare things and run it not the way you like it, but the way the market is set up. You know, if your customers like fish and chips and you like everything healthy, it doesn't mean you're going to change your customers. You're probably going to end up with an empty restaurant. You're better off actually focused on what your customers actually want. And it's a bit like, you know, I don't know, you know, setting up a specialist type of food restaurant in an area that's working class, and like going to Blackpool, for example, you know, you're going to struggle to make it. I mean, I remember years and years ago going to Blackpool where everyone went to the arcade because the tea was only 10 pence. It wasn't about the quality of the tea, it was just that the tea was 10 pence. Absolute madness. But you've got to understand the market you're dealing with. And when am I going back to the Philippines? At the moment, we've got too much on here in Europe. We've got too much to do. We've rented one of the apartments out that we've got in the Philippines at the moment as well. I'm umming and ahhing what to do with the apartments we've got there, because I think we need to finish renovating the one large one. So that's another project. But we've got other ones. If I can rent those all out, I'd be quite happy, because then they would fund the renovation of the big one without dipping it in my pocket. So from that, I'm not in a rush with the Philippines at the moment, sort of on the back burner. Mariana Ward, thank you for these talk so much sense and say things that make you really think. Yeah, well, one of the things I recognised here in Spain is it's like when the banks charge you for just having an account, they'll just look at you as if you're an idiot or something, when in fact, you know, we're providing you a service. We're holding your money. Yeah, it doesn't matter you've got 50,000 euros in there that we're loaning out pretty much every day. That's irrelevant. We want to charge you for us being able to hold your money and spend it and loan it for you. But you got to recognise it's a different culture, different environment, and our banks in the UK just do it in a different way. So yeah, my aunt lived in Spain for 20 years now, Philip Stevens. Yeah, I like Spain. I mean, I've got to admit, I can see me being here long term. This is what I'm sort of thinking at the moment. I need to get to about 3 apartments here, and then I can start increasing it very quickly. So this is what I'm sort of looking at getting the first one set up for this year. May not get the purchase through till the start of next year, but I'm not in a rush because I want it for the holiday season, so that it's set up, all set up, ready, rented out, boom, it's done, make some money on it. But at the same time, I can understand, you know, it's one of the reasons I do these videos is there is frustration sometimes because things take longer than you would expect sometimes. It's a bit like the permits and things here. People have had problems with the business permits because the government changed. So there's been problems around all sorts of things, from refuse collection to opening a bar on the beach because the permits had to be redone and whatever. Um, I don't know why. I don't know why it can't be done in a way that certain things would be an expectation that would carry on, so that you could actually turn around and say, right, the assumption is this permit will carry on. And then it gets reviewed by the new government and they can cancel it if it's an issue. But if somebody's been running a bar restaurant on the beach for 10 years or whatever, I would assume it would carry on. So why they mess around with people's permits is beyond me, but they do. So that sort of stuff frustrates me. But I don't have a restaurant on the bar, but other thing, beach. I don't have a restaurant on the beach, so it doesn't really affect me. But you do find that getting permits set up, getting there was a restaurant recently been closed for a while, and they're trying to get the electric back on. Well, they disconnected the electric, so they didn't have an electric bill. So then having to schedule that and sort it out, it's not straightforward. It takes longer than you would think. Can I shout out your name? Philip Stevens. There you go. I'll shout out your name for you. Yeah, you've been a fan since 2017. If you're ever when I'm in Cebu, if you're around Cebu, quite happy to meet up with you. No problem. Yeah, JC, are you expecting the summer tax bill that apparently will be levied every October? Now, the thing is, you'll get a property one. This isn't our property, so we don't pay it. Property downstairs, we manage. So for the landlord, we actually pay his taxes for him. So what happens is we do get a bill down there. The tenant gives us the bill, and then we take it off that monthly rent and go and pay their tax. Then we send them a copy that the tax has been paid. Now, on a property, you're looking at about 200 to about 300 euros, depending on the size of property. You also got the community charges, depending on the type of property. In the sense, like this block, we have a lift. The lifts are more expensive than maintaining a swimming pool. So, but we don't pay that. Our landlords pay that. So we only pay the monthly rent and the electric and water. The bills relating to the tax of the property, the bills relating to the service charges is all handled by the owners of the property. So on that side, it's one of the reasons that you sit there and go, with rent, it's not too bad. Because when you start taking in these extra charges, you're like, it's not too bad. It's nothing in comparison to the UK. And that's one of the things I've been looking at recently, because I've had a few job offers that I'm looking at. And the big way up for me is the locations, because I've been looking at the price of rentals, because I just want to rent a room. I'm not interested in having a house or anything else, because I'm there purely to work. So I'm not too keen on getting a flat or something else and then having to pay council tax and everything else, because most of the time I'm not even going to be there. Because you'll find, like, for example, say I'm in, I don't know, say in Northampton. Well, if I'm managing 40 odd buildings in Northampton, I am not going to be eating there. So there is no waste. The only thing I'd actually be doing is probably the washing machine. I would eat during the day, so just go back there to sleep. Now, some of the other contracts, I may only actually be there one day a week, because the rest of the time I'm in hotels around the country. So I've sort of been looking at what's the cheapest options on there, because quite simply, I don't use it that much. A lot of the time I'm actually in hotels. When I was up in Scotland, for example, I spent 9 or 9.5 months in Premier Inn, because I was actually working up there on a regular basis. But I wasn't even based in Scotland. I was based south of Birmingham. But at the same time, they wouldn't relocate you there, because the next contract after that was Portsmouth, completely opposite end of the world. Well, not that bad, but you get the gist. Opposite ends of the UK. So I'm weighing it up at the moment. Matt Feast, I'm moving to Spain soon. My house is up for sale. Well, hopefully I'll see you. I do recommend living in this area. Depends what sort of lifestyle you like. like I said, this time of year is a nightmare. People are, and I've got to say Spanish because they're Spanish. They go to bed at silly o'clock, and it's not too bad if they were just chilling out. It's when they stand outside and talk in the street as loud as they can for hours. That's the only issue I have. But after the holiday season, it's chilled out here. And the other thing I want to stress, it's not just me. We've got Spanish neighbours that actually don't stay here in the holiday season. Their relatives come here and they go to Madrid and Barcelona because they don't like the noise. So it's not a British thing. Before somebody says, "Oh, we don't like it," blah blah blah. Spanish don't like it either. Minky Flicker, yes, I'll be coming soon. We're coming to look around next May. I'll rent my current UK house. Yeah, that's the thing. If you can rent it out, that's the way I would go. I've got a friend of mine who actually built a fairly large like log cabin in the back garden that he actually lives in when he's there, because he's not there all the time anyway, and he rents all his house out. So he's got 4 people living in the house. You know, he's rented 4 rooms out, and he lives in the garden shed basically. Which I suppose you can do. I'm not advising anybody to do this, but I suppose you can do if you're living there, but you can't rent it out for somebody else to live there. It's one of those weird ones around decent standards, you know, the housing standard rules relating to what you can rent out. Not that I'd advise you to rent a log cabin to somebody in your garden to somebody, but I'm just saying that that's one of the things he does, and it's not exactly slumming it. It's actually quite a nice setup. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, the UK rental market will continue to grow. I don't see that changing. I am expecting there to be some adjustments in the values of properties, but I can't see that really affecting the rental market. The rental market will continue regardless, so it's worth doing. Jan, balcones las altos area when we come over. I want to move over permanently as we have the means to do so, but my partner Sharon is hesitant. Can you put any advice? Can I put any advice? The first thing you've got to look at, which is often overlooked, and I say the same stuff relating to the Philippines, is healthcare. As long as your healthcare is covered, the rest of it you can work out. It's a bit like me now. I've got several options here. I can continue working online. I can continue developing the Torrevieja services, which will actually still be developed. But like I said, I need to invest some money in that. I need some more tools and things. But that will continue to develop. And a lot of that is around trust. You develop trust over time. You don't develop trust overnight. But if you're moving in this sort of area, I would look at the healthcare, the education system, and the infrastructure. What I find in this area, we have fantastic hospitals. Schools are really good. Also find that the infrastructure is very good. I mean, a lot of Brits grumble about the investment into the road infrastructure that come from Europe, etc. But at the same time, I didn't sign the contracts off. I don't know what the payments back are. But at the same time, those same road routes are moving food around Europe, because obviously Spain produces a lot of food and stuff for other parts of Europe. So everybody benefits on that front. So the key issues that I find that I have are the kids going to be okay? And the answer is yes. The weather's good. The location's good, you know, it's low in pollution. You've got a lot of access to sports facilities, hiking facilities, and everything else. You've got a lot of access to tutors at relatively low rates. It's not. Let give me an example. My son's maths teacher. He was training to be a teacher. He's now had his school given to him, so I think he's moving to another area. Now, he didn't need to do a DBS check, have his house inspected and everything else, whether he can become a tutor or not. It's quite simple. He's an English. He's a maths teacher that is becoming a maths teacher. It's not nanny state. There's a lot of common sense used here. So a lot of the stuff is actually viable, where in the UK, everything's like, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? It's always whinging. And it really bugs me in the UK because they've allowed people to take over things that, quite simply, a bit of common sense would have dealt with it. So you can get a lot of extra things here that you wouldn't find you're able to do in the UK. Like I said, the tutoring side is a prime example. But also, if you look at work-wise, more and more work is going to be online. Whether people like it or not, the rise of automation is there. You've also got the fact that floor space in offices is becoming horrendously stupid in the UK and other places. So the point being is, if they can get away with you not sitting at your desk and you do it from home, it saves them money. So there will be an increasing amount of work over the next decades remotely. The infrastructure's there, so you've got good internet. I'm just trying to think of anything that could be a downside. Learning the language is hard work, but that's the key. It's hard work. Don't expect to learn it in 3 months. Don't expect to learn it overnight. Just expect to do it little by little, poco poco. You just need to keep at it. You just, like, every day, do 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Because sometimes it gets tedious. Let's be honest, it does get tedious. So with that, just focus on the bits you're using initially, because once you start going and ordering a coffee, bread, beer, whatever, you'll start to develop it, because una cerveza por favor. You may ask for one beer, but then your friend turns up. It's like, oh, what's two? And it's obviously dos, tres, cuatro, cinco. You start to add your vocabulary because you're using it. And that's the easiest way to learn. Now, I do recommend using things like Memrise. I do recommend using the audiobooks because it'll keep building it up, because it's the differences between I would like, I have, I can, and you start to develop that over time. But the whole point is you will get there if you put the effort in. The only person that can put that effort in, though, is you. But for the Spanish lifestyle, I haven't had anybody grumble here that had made an effort here. The grumbling comes from dealing with bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is the same everywhere, though. Spanish bureaucracy is pretty famous, but at the same time, I've dealt with it in other places, and I don't think it's too bad, compared to some of the other stuff I've had to deal with. So, yeah, there's no real downsides if you've got online income, or if you've got your income already set up, the rest of it will drop into place, because that's the hard bit. The majority of people that leave here and grumble is because they never made it financially, because that's the hard bit. Don't want to do bar work, but got no skills, don't work online, don't speak the language, and it's the country's fault. Reality is, there's many things out there that will hinder and make life difficult, but it doesn't matter where you are in the world. They're there. Often you may not see it because you're used to it. But going to a new country, it's like, this frustrates me because it's now in your face. But you've been doing something similar in your home country for a long time, but you're used to it. So just bear that in mind. Sometimes there is growing pains, but I would definitely look at moving to Spain. I love it here. We're here for the long term, as I was saying earlier, looking at buying our first apartment here, because we're not looking at leaving here. I mean, we'll go back to the Philippines on holidays and stuff, but Spain is definitely our home. Next question. I work online. This is Matt Feast. I work online, so not worried in starting a business in Spain, but I'm quite lucky. But yes, you're right. It's all the red tape and starting a business in Spain. Yes, and there's another option there. I'm actually going to try and talk to Estonia about this. Estonia do e-businesses and e-residencies. There's an option there. I'm not going to go into it in too much detail at the moment because I've got to research it myself. But I have got a friend who already runs a business through Estonia that lives in Spain. So there is options there as well, that everything could go through Estonia and officially. It's nothing to do with Spain. Yeah, and we always go to Los Balcones, Los Altos. Oh, we already covered that. This is from Philip Stevens. Did your Filipino wife and your half Filipino kids live with you on Spain right now? Yeah, they've been here 5 years. Yeah, they love it here. Matt Fries, UK is too expensive to live. That's one of the reasons I'm moving to Spain, as long as I have internet connection and cool. That's what I was saying earlier about the property. I don't want to get locked into a UK property if working in the UK. I don't want to get hindered with getting into the rat race nonsense. I couldn't care less about all that in the UK. Yes, I like expensive clothes and stuff, but I know I don't need them. so the point being is, besides having, I might have to have some alterations on, actually thinking about it, because of obviously I've lost a fair bit of weight in the last year. But the main thing is keep your costs down. And I was talking to a couple of Australian friends of ours recently about this, because they're back in London at the moment. And they say, you start getting into the rat race stuff again. You start getting into the lifestyle. I'm like, not when you avoid it like the plague. If I'm in the UK to work, it'd be a case of working on my day-to-day stuff, 9 to 5 or whatever. A little bit later at the beginning, because quite simply, I normally find when I go into these things, they haven't been touched for months, so you have to fix them to get it. Got to get the hamster back on the wheel and get it turning again. So you normally end up working late for the first few weeks or a month. But after that, the evenings is going to be learning Spanish. It's going to be continue with online earning and earning income online, because the focus is quite simply buying property in Spain. Torrevieja services. I'm going to keep bringing this up now. I need to buy a load of air conditioning stuff, and I was talking to a friend of mine recently about that, because he's actually started gearing everything up as well. He's already got a lot of the equipment, but because Paul Sawyer's, we've been talking about setting up here for doing the cars and doing the air conditioning. So that's something we're working on at the moment. But there's a huge opportunity there, and I'm looking forward to working with him on that. But also, I need to get all my tools and stuff anyway, because we do a lot of other renovation stuff. But once it's set up, buy once, use many. So I'm expecting the end of this year I'll be working quite long hours, but the outcome is worth it. Work hard for X amount, and then long term, it's beneficial. For example, if I drop into something now, got nearly half a budget for buying an apartment, so half the mortgage is already gone straight away. So paying that last half off is, if it gets rented straight out, and then the last half will pay off quite quickly. Or I pay a quarter off and then start saving for the next one, so that I can start getting a portfolio together at the same time, trying to get the debt down as quick as possible, because it allows me to grow much faster. But I'm just showing you some of the stuff I get up to, because the thing is, sometimes I'm going in this direction and it's sort of like the crypto stuff. The crypto seems to be up and down, up and down. So I sort of put it to one side for a minute. There is money to be generated on it, but long term, I need to get things like Torrevieja services running, the property running, and stuff like that, where there is a bigger gain quickly. In the same way, the type of work I do in the UK, it pays quite well. So I can actually bank 2/3 of my monthly income. And if I can do that, I can pay property off quite quickly. So it's like, there's a lot of stuff on there. Philip Stevens, do I speak Spanish fluently? Not yet, no. April does, but I'm still learning. It takes time, but a big problem is, as soon as people know I'm from the UK, they speak English straight away, which is one of the issues. But then I get caught sometimes when speaking to some of the older Spaniards along the street, because they'll start talking about looking for something or whatever. And then it's like, okay. And I'm still sort of picking out the words at the minute. but it's getting there. I can hear more. That's one thing I will say. You'll sit at the plaza and you can start to understand people's sentences just by sitting there and being nosy. Yeah, the Matt fees. I just need the NIE certificate sorted. Yeah, the NIE. Oh, that's an interesting one at the moment because the Brexit stuff, the appointments have gone a bit crazy at the minute. It's not a lot we can do about that. But the funny thing is, Spain expect it. That's what's different between Spain and the UK. In the UK, they go, "Oh, you must have it done by," and they go, "But there is no appointments because you're not adding any extra appointments for the extra demand, though, are you?" But in Spain, they'll just go, "Yeah, we fully understand it. Just book it when you can. You've got an appointment. It's fine." In the UK, it's like, "Oh, but it must be done by this date." It's like, "But you can't do it by that date because you've already fully booked everything." Yes, but it needs to be done by that date. Yeah, what's her name? Angie from the job centre. That's what you're dealing with half the time. That's what frustrates me with the UK on that side. Jan, we have the means to rent as we have a flat with a good rental income in Birmingham, but just need income to live after that. How much would we need to live after we are in our early 50s with no kids? You know what? People argue with me on this. How much is a piece the length of a piece of string? For us, we can live on 1,000 a month. You will be able to live on a lot cheaper. Just go drink this coffee. In fact, I'm going to stick the coffee in the microwave. 2 seconds. Now, one of the things Carlos was asking, could I do a multi-chat on this? They've actually removed Google Hangouts. So I've got to look at another solution for that. So if anybody else on YouTube has got another solution for that now, please let me know. I'll be right back. Because I'm sitting under the aircon and I've got a fan on above me. I didn't want to sweat while I was doing the video. So where were we? Yeah, the NIE. It's going to be... I know April's keeping an eye on the appointment availabilities. I think she's been messaging you about that as well. But in Spain, they're not that fussed. Because as long as you're booking an appointment, it's in process. It's the UK that's a bit of a pain in the backside when it comes to immigration and whatever. I find the UK frustrating and arrogant in that sense. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about that too much. Jan, yeah. So how much would your budget be? Well, there's 2 people I know that, not including their rent, are living, as couples. They're living on less than, I think, about €800 a month. Now, the other thing is you're probably not going to have health insurance. Now, I would have a look at getting some quotes online for free. They'll give you a quote online. You can get insurance quotes about which one? Casa Insurance will do an insurance quote online, no problem. They'll give you a figure on that already, so you can equate that to what it's going to cost you to live here. Personally, I think you'll be, I don't know, about 800 a month. And like I said, people argue with me. They go, "Well, you can't eat out and that's all the budget." Oh, but you're not on holiday. This is where some people get their budgets like 2,000 a month, and then they'll say, "Oh, the budget's 2,000 a month," and then they go, "Well, that's too much. I don't even spend that here." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's the problem you get with budgets because everyone has different lifestyle choices." But realistically, depending on your location, I would expect you around 800 a month. We should be able to do it comfortably. There's a few people I know that eat in a lot more than they used to. And it's not because they're tight with the cash. It's actually because they've sort of got into a rhythm of living here. They actually like cooking. So they actually spend more time cooking and stuff. And ingredients and stuff are cheap and easy to get here. So there's a lot of benefits to living here that you only sort of see once you're living here. Like going to the market on a Wednesday in La Mata, Friday in Torrevieja. I think the market in Guadalajara is Wednesday, maybe Thursday. But then you've got the Lemon Tree Market, which is on the Sunday, and then there's another. Yeah, there's a lot of markets around, but there's a lot of good produce around. I've got to admit that's one thing I would love is a bigger kitchen. So yeah, I would a couple in the 50s. Just get your insurance quotes. You know how much your insurance is. A lot of these companies will say the price you pay is the price it stays. So have a look into that because it'll be the same every year then. Because once you buy into it earlier, it's cheaper and then it stays the same continuously. Not saying they all do that. That's why I say just have a look at it. I use Kessler Insurance for my insurance. I found them very good. Had no problems with them. They also do the dental stuff. I think dental was €170 a year for 2 people. Yeah, so don't worry on that front. But yeah, about 800. But you could live a lot less. That's what I'm saying. 800, you can still eat out. You can have a car. But you may go, oh, we'll just use the bus. And then you go, okay, well, there's a saving there instantly. No insurance, no maintenance. Matt Feast, you're right. More people are working from home and Spain will be perfect. Yeah, I agree. I mean, Spain, the only rough time is right now because of the holiday season, because Spaniards like to be loud in the middle of the night. But beyond that, the rest of the year is fine. But also, if you're adapted to it, say, for example, I took the bedroom on the inside, because obviously we're in a block of flats. If I took one on the inner, I wouldn't have the noise from the road and the street. But I like the road and the street because that's where I get some daylight. But you can adapt to it. So the point being is, yeah, there is definitely options there. Google Translator is handy. Yeah, Google Translator I keep with me all the time. Although I've got to admit, I'm trying to use this a lot more because it's a bit like using the GPS on your old car when it goes turn left, turn right, turn this. And then somebody says to you, how do you get to work every day? And you go, I don't know. Because before you used to go, you go up Castle Street, left on this, blah, blah, blah. But with the GPS, you switch off to it completely. So the point being is Google Translate is very useful when you're into conversation, you're trying to get more information out of people. But I do recommend trying to use this a lot more. If you don't know a word, because the thing is, you'll go, what's the word for I can or whatever? Write it down and then go and look it up. That's why this is useful. I mean, I'm not saying don't use Translator because you could end up with some right funny things. But at the same time, try and use your head as much as possible as well. It makes life easier. Jan, you're welcome. Matt Feast, when I move to Spain, I'm going to be a cash buyer. I had enough of mortgage in the UK. Lucky Spain is very cheap. Exactly. Now, let's talk about rentals, actually. Let's talk about rentals for a minute. Because I've been looking at the mortgages, and if I paid nearly half up front, which I can do, on a 2-bedroom, the rental is going to be a minimum of €350 a month income. Now, if I put aside, what's that? Put aside, say, 600 a year for the insurance and the taxes. You may have a, what do you call it, service charge for the building. So it depends on what you're looking for, but your mortgage will be covered easily, plus there's some profit in it every year from day one. So the point being is you can recover your money quite quickly on it. For me, I'm going to get to a certain point, then I'm going to transfer some of the buildings to the kids so that they don't get caught in the tax. After my demise. But the point being is the properties are cheap, the rental market's there, but also the structures are very basic. Because these are all concrete or they're solid, they're not plasterboard. So the point being is in the UK, you often get some village idiot punch the wall or damage it. These are much easier to repair and are less likely to get damaged because they're solid. And I know someone's going, what do I know? I used to do all the social housing. So plastering walls was one of the things you did on a regular basis, where people punched the walls through. But here, a lot of these are solid. Rewiring them is not complex. You'll find that there's junction boxes. I can't see where the one is in here, but you can actually wire things quite easily. You can fish them through. You know, you get what's called a fish, and you push it through, and you can pull fresh cables and stuff through very easily. They're not difficult to renovate. A lot of this stuff will last another 10 years anyway. So, I mean, this kitchen in here was the original kitchen, but they bought another unit the same as it for the corner. Well, that kitchen will last another 10, 15 years. A lot of this stuff that is in these older properties along here is all solid because it was all 80s stuff before the cheap imports started coming in. So you'll get bed bases where they've got good solid, what do you call it, slats, instead of being this, they're this. You'll get the fact that a lot of the furniture may not be the nicest furniture, but when you're renting it out, it's solid, good stuff. You know, you get in pine dining table, pine chairs, pine kitchen doors, pine. You know, a lot of it is solid wood stuff. Although it's dated, majority of people don't care. They're here on holiday. They're more concerned that the aircon works, and they don't get electrocuted in the shower. So that's why wiring is always an important thing for me. Then obviously the aircon, either brand new or well serviced, one of the two. But there's definitely a market for renting properties out here. Yeah, apartments are cheap, 50k to 90k, definitely. And the reason I choose an apartment over a house, by the way, is it reduces the risk on squatters. To get into this block's a pain. If nobody's in this block, you can't get in. It's a massive secure door on the front, metal door, and then it's got grills on the back of the window. You ain't going to get in. I mean, Jehovah's Witnesses don't get in here. So the point being is, that's why I like flats. But also here, beaches there, apartments over the road. I'd even look at buying those. Although they're concrete over steel, the rental potential is very, very good because the beach is there. You know, like literally just within view. So renting them out, you know, 3-bedroom, you're talking up to €100 a day in the holiday season. Yeah, but I understand that with Matt Feast, where you're talking about the mortgage. Yeah, that's why I like to pay things off as quick as possible. I don't do debt if I can help it. Matt Feast, Zoom call. I'll have a look at Zoom. I'm not sure if Zoom works with the YouTube. I'll have to have a look. I'll have to see how the integration works with that. I'll definitely have a look. Matt Feast, April's brilliant. She's sorting out the appointment out soon. I'm cool. Yeah, okay, that's great. Because one of the problems I get with people is they'll say, "Oh, I'm buying a house next in 2 weeks. We're flying over in 2 weeks. Can you sort the NAE out?" And it's like, before you could turn up and get an appointment, but then they put everything online. They made it a little bit harder to do. Vincent Garcon, come to Miami, Florida to see Formula One. Yeah, if you're paying, I'll quite happily pop over. I haven't been to Miami. I've been up to, where was I before? I went to the Indy 500. Matt Feast, 800 a month. Wow, that's brilliant. That's another reason I'm moving to Spain. Yeah, I find the cost of living is relatively cheap here. The hard months is like now, because you'll have the aircon on a lot of the time. Simply because if you've got no air movement, it's hot. And that's where a lot of people have the air conditioning on, and will only have it like for 1 or 2 months of the year. The rest of the year, unless it's cold, won't have any aircon on. In the winter, what we have is our little gas fire, and that's just remind me I've got to service that because I think I need to adjust the wick on it. With that, it's about 35 euros a month, and you just put it in the corridor, leave the doors open, and they'll heat the entire apartment. Now, you're not looking at sitting there with your, what do you call it, your marshmallows, thinking this is perfect, glowing face because it's that hot. No, it brings the temperature to room temperature, and it does that. And it's only a little heater. Go down to a key, and you just pick up the liquid fuel for it. There is other places around here that have actually got proper fires and things. That's another thing I'll be looking at when we actually look at buying places. Could be nice to have a nice fire as well. But yeah, I can't really knock La Mata, to be honest. Even like now, where I'm parked on the beach and the parking's horrendous, there's not a lot to knock. The Spanish are noisy on holiday, but they're on holiday. You've got to accept you're living in a tourist town. Work-wise, it's not the easiest place to find work, but beyond that, weather's great, neighbours are great, infrastructure is good, public transport's good. There's no real downside. Schools are good, kids are happy, I'm happy. Yeah, it's nothing to say on a bad note on that side. Now I'm just going to go down and see if there's any more questions. This is from Gary Coombe. Thanks for sharing the video. My wife and I think, are buying a place in Torrevieja to holiday in initially and retire a few years down the line. What areas would I recommend? On our visits, we've only stayed in the town centre, so we'd be interested to hear if there's a rental demand if you move a little bit further out. The rental demand depends on the type of person. For example, where Peter and Anna are, they're over in Quesada, which is yonder. I say it's not near the beach, and I get told off for saying that, but it's not near the beach. But it has a lot of people go there on holiday, because although you can hop in the car and be at the beach in 10 minutes, what you have there is like Quesada fish and chips, Yorkshire linen, and there's a lot of Brit stuff around there, which people like, and there's nothing wrong with that. For me, it's not for me, but at the same time, I can understand a lot of people like those types of places. Got nice restaurants there. A lot of developments have swimming pools, so the point being is, even if they aren't near the beach, do you know what? When a lot of people come on holiday, rent a villa, it's got its own pool, they don't care. As long as they've got the supermarket, can get the food and whatever, they're happy. As long as there's easy access to the airport, easy access to get there and back if they're going out for the evening, there's stuff to do in the area. Doesn't always need to be by the beach. So Quesada is worth looking at. There's other places like Villa Martin in areas which have things like golf courses and things. There's a market for people that go golfing. There's another market. In fact, I was talking to Denise recently, and she was saying that coming on a golfing weekend. Is it the weekend or the week? Might be on holiday for a golfing holiday. And the point being is that there's a market around the golfers. There is older developments as well, which are a bit cheaper. I'd say recommend going to the local bars in those areas and just ask people there. Because a lot of people forget that a lot of people are on holiday, but in their own properties. So they may not rent them out. But if you ask at the bars and stuff, and just say, do many people rent in this area? Those sort of questions. And you may find they go, no, most of the people here have been here since the 80s. They bought their holiday rentals here and they just come out in the summer and whatever. And then they're empty most of the year. Other areas you'll find there's a good turnover. Like I said, Quesada, there's a lot of people turnover. Villa Martin, there's a lot of people there all year round. You just got to look around. There's no real areas I would say avoid like the plague. Just look at some of the stuff around crime as well. That's keeping it politically correct, because some areas do have some undesirables in the area which could put off the rental market. But you'll find that the properties for sale in those areas are often a lot cheaper, and that's the reason why. So I'll just put that out there, because you may find in Torrevieja you'll see one apartment's 20,000 euros cheaper in this area compared to that. That's why. There's things that go on in certain areas that devalue it. I was chatting to somebody recently, and they were on about the same in Alicante, where you can get some properties from about 19,000 euros. It's because of the areas they're in. Glyn Roberts, moving to Spain from non-EU country means having 2,130 euros a month, at least, to be allowed to stay more than 183 days a year, according to Google. Yeah, that's actually incorrect. I'd have to look into that because they accept less than that, and I think the arrangements with the UK are slightly different. The reason I say that is quite simply the amount of properties and stuff already purchased in Spain by Brits, etc. Spain will be looking to do some sort of arrangement once the UK decides what it's actually doing. Matt Feast, what about water bottles? That must cost. Reality is the water here, there was a problem with the reservoir, and they've dealt with it. They advise people not to use the filters. We actually still use a Brita filter, and somebody already mentioned they're not the best filters. For me, it's fine. The water's already supposed to be drinkable anyway, and we just run it through the filter just to be sure. But also we find that using the filter, we actually do it for the kettle as well. It stops the build up of limescale in the kettle as well. So with that, April's the best person on the cost of it, but it doesn't cost that much. But if you do buy the bottled water, yes, it can rack up quite easily, but you don't need to buy bottled water. We were drinking straight from the tap up until they had a problem with the reservoir. And we just filter it now, just out of habit, I suppose. But there is other areas where I know people have turned the tap and there's brown water coming out the tap. Now, it could be the fact that the water's got contaminated somewhere along the way, broken pipe or something else that's drawn in dirt. But at the same time, it doesn't hurt to run a filter that's costing virtually nothing anyway. I mean, I'll show you my filter. And grab me coffee at the same time. So all you do is you fill it up on the top, and it just filters out the bottom with a little filter in the middle. Nothing complicated. Anybody can do it. But like I said, you may not need to do it, but we just run it through there anyway. We don't really have any problems with it. Probably costs us less than 100 euros a year or something. April, no, I think it's because we don't. Yeah, it's not that expensive. But if you do go down the route of bottled water, it could be easily 30, 40 euros a month, if it's a family. So just bear that in mind, but you shouldn't need it. But yeah, Glyn Roberts' question about the 2,130 euros a month, at least to be allowed to stay more than 183 days. I would assume that is based on non-settlement, in the fact that they assume that you'll have that amount of money for your expenditure. So for education or something else, that you're sustainable yourself. But if you're settling in Spain, the rules change, because I know, I think it was for a couple, it was something like 1,400 euros. And then for like one child or two child, it's like 1,800 euros a month. So that's well below 2,130 euros. But also, I know a lot of people are finding their way into Spain using student visas, because it's easier to do a student visa than go through some of the hoops. But like I said, I would just wait on that. I don't think it's really going to affect the UK too much in that sense. I know some people are going, oh yeah, but the EU is this. It doesn't mean that two countries can't make their own agreements as well. And Spain has no interest in losing its expat communities that put a lot of money into the economy. They've already made that very clear on multiple occasions. The only people that try to do it the other way are the tabloids, because they like scaremongering. So yeah, don't worry about that too much. Let's have a look for the next question. How about doing a video on the Chinese in Spain? Any experience with them? Opinions from Spanish folk about the increasing Chinese presence. The funny thing about the Chinese is they generally keep themselves to themselves. We had some friends here. Well, we're still friends with them, but their father closed his shop here. Um, but I mean, my biggest concern is a lot of the stuff's just crap. You know, the stuff that is in the big shops. A lot of this stuff doesn't last very long, and that's what gets me. I mean, it becomes a bit of a joke for me that we're going down the environmental plastic bag thing, yet we'll buy a screwdriver that doesn't even function as a screwdriver all the way from China. It just puzzles me why that's acceptable. At the same time, telling me I need to buy this bag when in fact we shouldn't be buying this tat. But anyway, but the Chinese, I don't really have any issues with, and the people we know are friendly. They keep themselves to themselves generally. They don't invite you around for tea. But we used to find that the shop here, they're always giving April gifts and stuff because she was obviously from Asia as well. So they were, you know, like you went in there to buy something, they'd give you an extra couple of pencils or something every time you went in the shop. Very friendly people. Same as we get discount at the restaurant here, but then again, we did stick them on Google, and they have a lot of Google reviews, so they must be doing all right on the Google side. But they give us discount for tea in there. Where else do we go with it? And there's another restaurant down near the Carrefour. They talk to us when we're in there as well. But yeah, generally they keep themselves to themselves. Don't really see them in the social aspect too much. You'll see them up at Lazinia shopping and stuff, but haven't really heard any Spanish complain about them, which is one of the questions someone has been asked. But yeah, I mean, I've got to admit, I'm not a fan of a lot of the tap that comes into any of the countries because, like I said, from an environmental point of view alone, it just doesn't make sense that half this stuff doesn't even work out of the box. Just absolute madness. Yeah, Lee Gilmer. If you have settled in Spain, have property rentals back in the UK, do you have to pay Spanish tax on them? Depends on your setup, because there's bilateral agreements between the UK and Spain, but also there has been people that have problems when they try to sell properties. Because they want their tax off they hadn't declared their income when they're a Spanish resident. It's an odd one because when I work in the UK, I'm taxed at source, and Spain recognises that. Now, if you haven't paid tax in the UK, would you have to pay double taxation? Speak to an accountant on that one, because personally, I don't think you should have to. But it's very peculiar in some senses. So you do need to look into it very carefully, because a lot of it is not as straightforward as it should be. And they do like to crawl back and grab any money that they think that you owe them, or they can delay sales on houses and all sorts of stuff. So just be very careful on that. But let's say you only rented properties in Spain, in the sense of you live here rented. Would they chase you for money on a property in the UK? Probably not. Much harder to get hold of your cash. But if you were trying to sell your house here and they found it, they'll try and get it out of you. That's probably the easiest way of doing it. Yeah, and Matt Feast, Spain makes millions out of UK expats. Exactly. And the holiday makers, this is why I can't see it being too much of a change. Although the media is all like, oh, the end of the world's coming. Personally, I don't think it's to anybody's benefit. There's going to be a lot of business as usual. It's a bit like the Millennium virus, or the Millennium clock. You know, where the computers didn't go to the past 1999. So it didn't recognise the changes, for the new millennium. It was all pushed in the media how the end of the world was coming and all the NHS and everything would fail. Did it? No. A lot of consultants made a fortune out of it. and I'm sure Brexit's going to make a lot of consultants a fortune as well. But will it be the end of the world? No. It'll be a blimp, a little bump in the road, nothing. There you go. Do I know life? I have an e-residency in Estonia, very straightforward and easy. There you go. Here's a question for you then. How does the tax? Do you have to pay any annual taxes on that? In the sense of, you have a business, I assume that you're paying a tax in Estonia, but do you have any residency taxes or anything associated with it? Because obviously here in Spain, the accountants love to charge you on a monthly basis. But obviously you've got your social security payments and stuff here as well, which are pretty high if you're not generating a regular income. But if you could do it through Estonia, maybe a lot cheaper, and I wouldn't be surprised if it is. Paul Gilmartin, are there many expats with children in La Mata? No, there's not many expats. The majority of people here, there's not many expats from the UK. The majority of people here are from everywhere. There's a lot of my friends are from Ukraine, Switzerland. That's we got Poland, Spain, Uruguay, all over the place. But there's a few of them with kids, but they're not from the UK. And everyone's happy. I mean, Igor next door, Igor's got 2 kids and go to the same school as my son, my daughter. They're quite happy. They enjoy it here. Yeah, Matt Feast, 2,000 a month, you can live like a king in Spain. Well, we spend, when we are overspending, about €600 a month, and about €400 of that is eating out. So that gives you an idea. Because if you go for, this is one of the things you'll get a lot of people go for menu of the day, which is quite cheap in a lot of the restaurants. Also, if you go to, like, say, the captain's table, they do a breakfast for about €3.50. You can't go wrong with that sort of price. You go to the places, you can get mini fish and chips or whatever. There's a lot of cheap stuff around as well. And then if you cook yourself, it's even cheaper. So yeah, like Matt Feast saying, 2,000 a month, you can live like a king in Spain. That's why the figure for 2,010 that Glyn mentioned, I think that's more for people coming here to travel or disappear into the system, which is probably why they set the figure so high in the first place. They were trying to make sure that they're going to go when they're supposed to. Any other questions? I'll have a route around the questions we've got. Philip Anna, I recall a while back you said you were planning to buy an apartment to provide a source of rental income. Are you still planning on doing that? Yes, obviously we've covered that a couple of times today already. The big problem I've had before is the work coming in and out of the UK and stuff, because you need to have, this is what frustrates me with traditional systems, because I've always done consultancy since the 90s. And they'll go, oh, but you're a risk because you don't have a full-time job, and it's like, but I don't need a full-time job. It's like now, I've still got more in the bank than a lot of people from earnings this year than a lot of people have earned this year. But at the same time, there's an obsession that people have got to fit into this little box. It makes it easy that you'll stay in this job for the next 20 years, and that means you can have the mortgage. Not that, okay, well, instead of doing that, I'll come into this job. I've saved up half already. I'll work this job and I'll pay it off $1,000 a month. Plus, I'll rent it out and I'll get all the rental onto it as well. So I want it paid off as quick as possible. But we don't want you to rent it for 3. We don't want a mortgage for 3 years. We want you for 25 years. But I don't want that one. I want that one paid off so I can get another one. So that's the difficulty on that. But at the same time, like I said, I've nearly got half the money already for the first apartment. So as long as the work drops in place, that will follow on from that. and obviously Torrevieja services. Bring it up again. As that starts growing, it'll get easier as well, because then it becomes more sustainable here. And this is why, like I said, I want to get more tools, get a van sorted and things like that, get geared up professionally. But we'll get there. We'll get there. It all takes time. Any other questions? Do you need license or certification for working with AC stuff? That was Sam. What you find here is a lot of people have none of it. This is why it's quite funny when you give a quote for a price and they go, well, I'm getting somebody to do it for about half of that. And you're like, fine. Because the problem you got with that is that you're looking at problems. You know, you can do it on the cheap, but the problem is it's a bit like the air conditioning units. We generally try to fit Fujitsu, Mitsubishi, Daikin, and other ones that we know have a high reliability. A lot of people are trying to get the ones out of Carrefour and stuff, the cheaper ones. But the thing is, you're not going to get the same level of quality and warranty on them. Quite simply, they're a cheaper make, cheaper electronics. You're more likely to get problems in the short term, where you put in a more expensive unit, you'll get 15 years out of it. You just look after it, it'll look after you. But you do get that, and then you'll see them on the name and shame thing where people are going, oh, this guy installed this and all the water's leaking out of this air conditioner, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, you get what you pay for. Matt Fees, buy cheap, pay twice, as they say. Exactly. I mean, if you go into hospitals or whatever, you don't see cheap Chinese air conditioning systems in there. What you see is it's all branded. It's all professionally installed, because it's all the big manufacturers are competing for those things, and the quality is much higher. I know when I was working for the Ministry of Defence, we could see the differences on pumps and motor sets, because we had some British ones that were over 50 years old and could still run, because they were 100% metal components. So you could get a broken blade of one of them in it, and you would take it out, and then you'd just take one out of another scrap one, put it in there, and it'd be back running. It would run another 10 years, no problem. You then got the German ones would last up to 5 years, and they have some plastic components, and over time they become hot and brittle and snap off. The Chinese ones were lasting 1 year. And the problem you get is somebody looking at a spreadsheet goes, oh yeah, but they're cheaper. No, they're not. They're not cheaper at all, because the labor cost of replacing it is way higher. You know, also some of the stuff we're working on is very sensitive. So the point being is, you can't just shut these places down to change something. They've got to last a certain period of time, and if they don't, you've got to set extra ones up for this and extra ones for the extra ones, because you're not getting the reliability out of them. So it's a false economy. I had this with a hospital probably about 15 years ago. They bought locks that were £2 cheaper. Now, they were cheap Chinese locks rather than buying the Yale ones. And the problem is the thumb screws in them undid themselves when you open and close the doors, because they didn't tighten themselves. They undid themselves. So the locks were exploding inside the doors. That was to save £2 per lock. Minimum charge for a lock change is £40. So you had somebody go around to put Loctite on 300 locks at £40 per lock to save £2. So yeah, some of this stuff is a bit bizarre sometimes. Yes, Jan, can we communicate privately on Monday or Tuesday? Matt, have you got a private number? You know what? If you go through to Torrevieja services, you can email me on this one as well. But if you go to Torrevieja services, you'll find my WhatsApp in the bottom corner, and then it'll put it straight through to my phone. So it's torreviejaservices.com, and you just go through there, and you'll see me on the bottom corner there. Because a lot of people messaging me. I had somebody yesterday asking about a last-minute clean. You know, can you do it today? Because we're leaving today, and it's like, yes, but it's not going to be a cheap rate today because A, it's Saturday, and B, you've asked me like an hour before you need it. But try to discourage that, because otherwise, what happens is people do it on a regular basis. They think, oh, they'll just come round. Anyway, Glenn Roberts, thanks, Matt. In 5 years' time, my pension will be about $1,500 a month. I don't intend working till I'm 75 from 2030. From 2030, as government is thinking. It's a bizarre thing, the state pension, because that's what it frustrates me, because the amount of money I paid into it, and then they're dictating to me when I can get my money out that I paid in. And I know people will go, oh yeah, but they've already spent your money on the past generations. You know what? That is not my problem. It's nothing more than a Ponzi scheme in that sense. But the point being is, I'd much rather pay nothing into the state system and manage my own money. Because let's face it, if you bought properties here and rented them out for what you put into the state pension, then just do a comparison between the two. I wonder which one actually comes out as a better option. But anyway, I'm not going to grumble about politics too much today. Is there any other questions? Because I'm going to call it a day in a minute if no other questions come in. I'll just see if there's any more messages. Oh. Yeah, as Mal says, though, rent to buy is a good option there as well. Because the thing about rent to buy, if you can get it, if you're coming out here and you've got specific areas, I recommend speaking to Mal, because he's got a few properties available already. The advantage you got with a rent to buy is you've got no upfront, and because you don't have to do the upfront, you don't have to pay the taxes upfront either. So you can start paying it off and then do the taxes at the end of it. I like that idea because it means it's a lot more easier to move into properties. Although I know some people wouldn't like paying, they should have been paying $300 a month if they rented, but they're paying $1,000 a month because they're paying it off in a specific period. But the advantage of doing that is it's an easier way to get into property ownership. But I do recommend having a chat with Mal. You'll see him in the comments if you're interested in doing a rent to buy. I've got to speak with Justin as well, because Justin has been working on some rent to buy stuff as well. I'll have a chat with him about it, because I'm also looking at putting this sort of stuff onto the website. The Torre La Mata one will be focused on Torre La Mata. So you're not going to see properties advertised for Madrid on there, for example. But you will find a Torrevieja services. You may not see it yet. There is actually a real estate site built into the back end of it. And that's going to be offering all sorts of services. One's for rental, one's for advertising, because we do a fixed fee on an advertising. Instead of giving me €5,000 to sell your property, per pay, say €250. We do all the marketing and stuff and then leave you to it. So you get the deal done. We just push it out there into the market for you and set all the paperwork and everything up. But then the selling, we can help you with that. But what we're trying to do is, I can't remember her name now. But we were chatting about selling a property recently because she wants to sell hers, and nearly all the market, and I know Gareth mentioned the same, they all want about €5,000 minimum for selling a property, which I think's excessive. If you've got a €50,000 property, that's 10%. It's excessive. Then they may argue, we'll have to put the same effort as I would with a €300,000 house. But you know what? Don't do it then. It's a bit like when they say, well, don't pay the €5,000. It's the same thing. So with that, it'd be €250. It's advertised on there. and we advertise it in things like Gumtree and other places, so it's well marketed. And then we just send you the inquiries and stuff. If it's in La Mata, we actually do the viewings for you as well and deal with key holding, all that sort of stuff if you want that. So we're looking at that as another option there as well, because one of the things I want to do is encourage house sales. I do think La Mata's got a lot to offer. I do think there's a lot of Spanish sitting on properties here that are getting a bit on. That'd be quite happy to sell their properties, but they need to sort of be seen as viable for them and viable for people buying into it. But it'd be nice to get some more people here full time, because it is a nice place to live. As you can probably hear, it's quiet until about 3 a.m. at the minute. But it's a good location work-wise. You've got the airports north and south. You've got Alicante, the New Murcia airport. So you've got access to Europe easy enough. Internationally, Madrid. I mean, you can get a flight from Alicante down to Madrid airport, and then anywhere in the world is not a problem. So it's a good place to be. And as Matt said, and I've mentioned myself, Matt Fisa, the reality is that you've got here the ability to work remotely. You've got the ability to change the way you live, because I find my cost of living here is cheaper. Got to admit, very hard to work at the moment with the kids at home, and then in the evenings you've got the Spanish enjoying their holidays. But once this month's out of the way, it gets much easier to study and stuff again and do work. So I would say be aware of that. If you do move out here, you may find the holiday months a bit of a nightmare, but once they go, it's a great place to be. A couple other questions. Glenn Roberts, what's cooking tonight? Thanks, Matt, and for mentioning Torrevieja services. Very handy for us to move into Spain. Yeah, Torrevieja services. The what's cooking tonight? No idea. Don't know what April's doing tonight. In fact, I'll have to have a think. I haven't had breakfast today. I don't think I've had my breakfast yet, actually. Yeah, I might do something special tonight, actually. So I'll stick the photos on Instagram. That's one thing you'll see on the Torre La Mata site. That's TORRE minus sign la minus sign MATA.com. My Instagram's on the bottom right, so what we eat normally ends up on my Instagram, because we do get people ask us about the food. I would like to buy the restaurant here, but like I said, we've missed the boat for this year. You've got to make the money in the holiday season. It's not the right time to buy now. Going out the holiday season is absolute madness. So yeah, maybe next year. We'll see. Like I said, the properties are going to be the first one at the minute, and building up working a bit more with Carlos, seeing if we can develop some business ideas to develop some business revenue online and stuff. Because one of the things I will say, if you can work online through revenue stream generation along with a day job or whatever, you can find the money to buy a property. And that's one of the things I will say. I struggle to say it to people, because some people sometimes get quite aggressive in the fact that it's easy for you to say. It's been a case of I look for the opportunities all the time. And this is why I like trying to get the restaurant working earlier. It was starting to go in the right direction, but it's very difficult to steer it the way it needs to go. So you got to take your energy out of that and put it into something else. Like I said, it doesn't mean I've given up on it. It's quite simply, it's missed the boat this year. But the main thing is, don't give up. Yeah, my kids are still quite young. They're both under 10. Yeah, it's just remembering, because I know it's not a case I can't remember their age. I was just thinking what the age was for the secondary school. They adapted to the Spanish life quite easily. Spanish language, you'll find the first month they may be a bit struggling with the language. But by the second month, they're speaking Spanish to you. The schools don't adapt to them in the sense that they won't speak English to them. They've got to learn Spanish. But at that age, it's just zoom, straight in there. It's the best time to do it. If a kid was about 15 years old, they will struggle, and it's the wrong time to move with exams and stuff. I'd recommend if you wanted to make the move and them to follow, that could actually work if they stayed with a grandparent or something else. It may sound a bit wrong to say about doing that transition, but sometimes if you want to move and set everything up, get the house set up and everything else, it might be better if they're on the exams for that last year, either stay there or begin transition. If you're buying a house here and still keeping the house in the UK, it's not really going to be that much of a burden because your child's still going to be studying anyway in the UK. So you just sort of work towards that goal. But they love it here. I mean, you got all the sports facilities. Kids here are generally good. There's the odd kid. Could we get the WhatsApp groups, because the kids all talk on WhatsApp to each other, and you get the odd one that's a bit wild, but predominantly they're all pretty good. And the wild one soon gets told to calm down by not only their parents but other people's parents as well. So they love it here. And just remind me, I've got to find my fishing rods. I might go fishing this afternoon or this evening. 6 o'clock this afternoon still for me. That's the advantage you've got. Beach is there. I'm thinking fishing rod. Take my son down fishing. Can't go wrong. Matt Feast, I just subscribed to Mal. That's interesting. When to buy. I thought you might actually like that because I know you got the liquidity there, and that could be a better option for you because you can invest the money that you were going to buy into the new property into something else, then put it back. So yeah, definitely an option for you, Matt. Matt Fee, Torrevieja Services is a great business for us. Now expats move to Spain. Awesome, Matt. I appreciate that. For me, the Torrevieja Services is something that I want to try and bring the standard up. And you may think, well, why are you better than other people? Give myself some negative things to question. Well, the first thing is my standard of work is a lot higher than a lot of people because I normally deal with corporations and people that can be awkward as customers. As such, a lot of the stuff I deal with is on bigger stuff, which has a lot of legislation, the compliance, the legalities around everything. So the standards are a lot higher than people often do in their domestic properties. So the point being is if you look for the air conditioning thing on Torrevieja Services, there's a breakdown on what servicing we do. So you know exactly what we do. In the same way, if I go out to a unit and I think it's knackered, I will turn around and say to you, is it still working? And I go, yeah, it's still working, but it cuts out after 2 hours or whatever. Is it your house? Well, no, we're renting it. So the owner's not here. No. Yeah, but they're coming back in November. No, okay. Well, to be honest, if it's working every 2 hours, just reset it. And I'll give you a quote, give it to the owner, and they can come back to me in November. But unless it's actually broken, I wouldn't recommend changing it yet because it's still working. You just need to reset it or whatever. Because a lot of time it's the electronics. A lot of the ones I've come across recently are electronic faults. The boards have got damaged. The communication lines between units are faulty. Another thing is simple things like blocked water pipes and things where they condensate, where the water builds up into these things. And then it gets sludge because the filters ain't being cleared or people haven't put filters in. So when there's no filter, all the dust goes down into the water and then congeals inside it. So a lot of the stuff we repair quite easily, where other people I know will go, it's knackered, get another one. And we'll try and sell you a new one. We don't need it. So yeah, a lot of time for me, it's more a case of I'll try and actually give you the best option because that's what I do for a living in my UK type roles. an example of that is some of the contracts I'm looking at is actually managing government organisations. I've done social housing, I've done schools, hospitals, um, been in oil and gas. I've done facilities out in the deserts, all sorts. But the main thing is for me is budgets, and the budgets are tied with saving money as well as providing a good service, which is why I see it from two sides. I won't waste somebody's money because I'm supposed to not waste their money. At the same time, give them the best service possible. So if it's like a 30-year-old air conditioning unit, I may actually turn around and say, you know what, you may be economical to actually change it over to a new unit. I'll let you make that decision. Because you'll have to monitor what the usage is on your power. But anyway, there's an example why Torrevieja serves a little bit different. Also, we do small repairs. I actually fixed somebody's doorbell a couple of weeks back. Very small repair. A lot of people wouldn't be interested in, but the nearest quote they got was €60. I wasn't anywhere near that. SimQ photo studio. What do you think is going to happen to the property market after Brexit? I don't think the market's going to change that much because you've got to remember the market had its wings clipped already. A lot of the properties here are still older properties owned by older people. I think the ones that were overstretched took a hit already. So I don't really see that happening too much. And the ones we're finding are buying a lot of the newer properties are predominantly in the Scandi market, in the sense that they're not Brits. We find a lot of the older properties Brits that are looking for them. The newer ones, you find a lot of Scandinavians and Northern Europeans. So I don't think it's going to hit the Spanish market. I can see it hitting the UK market, but the UK market should have corrected itself in 2008, but didn't. So got to be aware of that. CIBI 1968, evening, Matt. Evening. I got to your comment eventually. Matt Feast, I'm coming over to Spain. We can discuss. Sorry, I've got kids and noise in the background. Yeah, happy to chat anytime. I'm in La Mata, so you know where I am. SimQ, thanks for the live chat. So many helpful tips. I'll help where I can. That's the thing. Even if it may sound a bit random or something, I don't mind if someone, like the water filter thing. I got people to say that the filters ain't any good. Fine. I'm just saying what I use. If you want to go and Google it and do more research into the water filters, that's fine. I mean, you could put we have a water filter system, but I took my laptop over there, I'd lose a connection. But where the water comes into the building in this apartment, there's a water softener filter there and purification as well. So this is actually double filtered by the time it gets to the tap. And that's to protect all the pipe work. I'm actually looking at setting those systems up and installing those. So I'm looking into those. But like I said, at the moment, I may be off to the UK for a few months. So I'm not in a rush. I'm just gathering the information and preparing. Yeah, the Brexit issue, SimQ, photo studios. Yeah, the Brexit issue, for me, I just leave it on the back burner. Spain's connection to the UK and the UK's reliance on Spanish nurses, for example, I think they will work it out between them. I don't see it hitting the Spanish market hard. And I do see people on about this freedom of movement being cancelled, which would be an absolute disaster for the NHS. There's a lot of things in the UK that rely on that. I mean, you'll get the people talking about the Romani gypsy or whatever, and that's the tabloid focus. They don't talk about the nurses, the doctors, the dentists, and many other professionals out there that the UK is relying on currently. Whether people like it or not, that's the truth. I remember when the Polish dentists arrived and all the positive stuff about the dentists. My dentist is Polish, but I couldn't get an appointment before because the NHS. I mean, I know some dentists I know don't even have any NHS private NHS customers. But the point being is there's a lot of positive people that work in the UK because of freedom of movement. So although it's been talked about and bounced about, just keep an eye out for words like possibly, our sources, maybe, likely, or anything else that actually turns around and say, none of this is actually fact, because a lot of it is just hearsay at the moment. It's to sell newspapers, so don't worry about it. We may get some changes. There will be some, but will there be catastrophic? Only if the government's as bad as they are handling the Brexit. But I do think once they get to a certain point, they'll actually put key decision makers into place that can actually run things. It's one of my problems I have with the UK government is their inability to make a decision. But anyway, putting that soapbox back down again. Not normal. Appreciate you making the time to discuss your experiences. Good food for thought. My wife and I are always thinking of how to make this work. Why La Mata, these other parts along the coast? For me, first thing is the plaza area is great for the kids. I find that it's quiet here most of the year. It's not bustlingly crazy. It's accessible to all the other areas. Guadalmar's to our left and Torrevieja's to our right. Both are accessible by bus. The Salt Lake, the nature park is over the back here, and obviously got the other Salt Lake as well, the Pink Lake. The Orihuela and many of the other areas are easily accessible from here. I like La Mata because A, it's quiet, B, it's got a bit of a community feel in the sense that although a lot of the people here are tourists for the tourist season, there's a lot of people here that are actually here all year round, like Senora Jose. It's got the restaurant at the end of the road here. And then we know the butcher, the woman who runs the vegetable shops. There's bakers here. We're friends with the people at the other bakery at the other end. And we pretty much know everybody in all the restaurants. It's a bit like a village, and that's why I like it. It's more personal. And you'll see that even reflected in the house prices. They're more expensive here than they are in Torrevieja. Just slightly, but it's one of those reasons that people actually turn around and live here. It's just nice, and a lot of people will comment the beaches are better here than Torrevieja. And they're not as busy. That's another thing. I shouldn't really advertise these sort of things because other people start moving here. But yeah, you'll find the beaches aren't as busy. And if you go left of the jetty, it's much quieter. I'm not sure if the bar's there this year. There was a bar on the beach as well. The water there was really nice. You get up to about the waist, nice waves. But then you've got a bar with some food as well. They cook on the beach as well. So it's a nice place to be. And obviously you've got the sand dunes. Sand dunes are preventing any new developments. So what is La Mata, unless they knock down some of these buildings, isn't going to get any bigger. So those are my main reasons. Work-wise, not good. La Mata is not good for work. Working online, we have fiber optic now. Let me see what TBT. I'll go to TBT. Torrevieja. Let's see what internet they can offer now. Because I think they can do up to 600 meg internet. Let's see what packages they got. Okay, so you can get up to 600 meg internet. So let's do the big package. So it's 600 meg internet. That's 600 meg up, 600 meg down. And it's a trio package. And I think that comes with a TV and phones, and it's €46.87 a month. Let's see what the packages I got. Yeah, with two telephone lines, one house line, and one house line. Yes. So you're looking at about €60 for very fast internet. Myself, I'm on 100 meg, which you see yourself is fine. That's costing $23.90 a month. Or is it? Did I get the other package? Yeah, I got the other package. So it's €31 a month for the faster package. So infrastructure-wise, it's fine. I like it here because it's more Spanish than British. I mean, we don't have like a Bar Britannica, for example. Although they have been talking about, if we do buy the bar here, it's going to be more of a restaurant bar, but more of a hub in the sense of it's not going to be like drinking and sitting there all afternoon. I can't be bothered with that sort of setup. It's more a case of being a community hub with like photography club and other things, as well as obviously eating and drinking, but trying to make it a bit of a community place to hang out. Because we do have a community centre here, but I think you've got to be over 55 to even join. It's a bit unfair for people like myself, but hey ho. But yeah, I do like it here, and the kids like it here. They've got friends here. They go to the plaza. It's very easy for kids to meet other kids and make friends. Got sports facilities. You go down to the right, you got a basketball court where they play. Well, it's basketball and football, five-a-side football court in there. Yeah, it's just a nice place to live. You do find a lot of people walk rather than drive, because obviously La Matte's quite small. So once people park up, they don't really drive around La Matte, because it's like me. I would go to the supermarket, I walk there, because it's easier to walk than it is to park. So yeah, that's why. But would I live anywhere else? It's hard to say. But personally, I like the village feel of La Matte, and I'm not sure if other areas have got that. Not that I'm saying they have or haven't, just I haven't experienced it in other areas. Francis Hughes, evening, Matt. Oh my God, nearly 2 hours. Yeah, another 4 minutes. I've been on here for 2 hours. Yeah. Glenn Roberts, hope you're not fishing in the Pink Lake, Matt. No, we don't. But funny enough, where the intake is for the lake is where we'll actually be near fishing. There was something that happened in Santa Pola. The fishing nets, something happened where they breed the fish. A lot of fish escaped. So there is more fishing opportunities in the area. But yeah, I'm not fishing in the lake. They would pick me up within 5 minutes now, my luck, if I did try and fish up there. Lynette Minot, hello, it's very hot in Manchester. Thanks for your update. Yeah, it seems hot everywhere in the UK today. It must be a good Sunday. Francis Hughes, I'll catch up from the chat stream. Keep well, fella. Good luck to you and April and kids. You too, mate. Take it easy. Andrei Posinski, greetings, Matt. Greetings. Hope all's well. Hope everything's going well. Can I put a link to? Yeah, I'll add that there. Services.com. Yeah, Glenn asked for a link to TorreviejaServices.com, so I've added that as well. Is anybody else got any questions, or call it a wrap? Because I didn't realise I've been on here for 2 hours, but it soon goes. But one of the things to be aware of is the NIEs. Thanks to the Brexit sort of being pushed again, there is a backlog of people booking appointments to get their paperwork that many should have done over 10 years ago, but that's another story for another day. But like I've said before, even lawyers and accountants advise people, if you don't need to be in the system, don't, because once you're in it, you're in it. Myself, because I have a wife and kids here, and the status, I mean, we were talking about this the other day, actually, because April's going to look at doing her residency test. Is it a citizen test? I think it's a citizen test, actually. I think it is. Because that's another thing I'll have a bit of an advantage over a lot of other people, is having a... Because, the funny thing is, this is what we looked at 5 years ago, is April and the kids can be Spanish. So if they become Spanish, I can actually be here as their non-EU as well. And this is something else that some people have overlooked. Now, don't get me wrong. As I say already, I don't think it's going to be that much of a change with Brexit. It would have to be a pretty bitter pill for the UK to go down that avenue, and I just don't see it. It would have a massive effect right across the Spanish and UK economies. If it affected tourism, it doesn't benefit Spain. If it affects the travel of doctors, nurses, and other professionals into the UK economy, it could affect a lot of industries very easily. So for me, although the Brexit will see some changes, and one of the biggest things they have been talking about is freedom of movement, is because the economies rely on each other. Peter was talking to me about the fact that there's 3 million 3 million EUs living in the UK, while there's only 1 million British people living in Europe. And I looked at it myself, and I've got to look at it the other way. Is if you look at Spain, how many people are doctors, vets, and other professionals? How many have got their degrees, etc.? I find that there's a lot of people here that have got qualifications. In the UK, as I asked him, is why we're so reliant on foreign doctors and nurses and everything else, because we have a population where there's a lot of people not working. Now, that is not to blame the Europeans for going into the UK. The fact is, the UK is not providing for itself in those services. And that's the way I look at it. Now, whether that's been set up that way for specific reasons, for example, maybe it's cheaper to train in Spain or something else, somewhere else as a doctor or whatever, I don't know. But you also get silly things like a Singaporean doctor that trained in the UK for nearly a decade. They refused him. Refused his right to settle in the UK on his last year, as he was just getting his results, where he would actually be a benefit to the UK as a doctor, and would actually be a British citizen in the sense he was wanting to become a British citizen. Instead, they said no, and it's like, okay, I'll go somewhere else in the world. For me, that just seems a dumb argument. If somebody is that skilled and that qualified, why would you reject him on his last year when he's actually been training in the UK for the last decade? But B, why aren't we training enough in the first place in the UK? Why are we so reliant on this? And this is why I think the freedom of movement stuff is a lot more complicated than the media make out. Glyn Roberts, loved every minute, Matt. Thanks for your time and advice. We'll learn some new things every time. You're welcome. Matt Feast, if you haven't got an NIE certificate, can you still rent a property? Yeah. The only people that are normally a bit fussy is real estate agents. But as soon as you turn around and say, I'm booking the appointment, I'm just coming here, blah, 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 you'll find it won't be that difficult. You've just got to make them aware that you booked your appointment, and you could show them a date of the appointment, because at the end of the day, it's more a case of showing that you're putting in process. You've got to bear in mind, a lot of people move here without an NIE, because you need an address for the NIE. Because obviously, although you go and get it, they're looking at you being in the system, and although it generates the paperwork, ideally you want a location that you can put as your address and stuff. So it's not that difficult. It's quite common. It's the same with the banks. The banks will do your non-resident account on your passport, because they're aware you haven't got your NIE and your residency card, etc. As soon as you become a resident, you can. I think I had to do it with NIE as well. I'll have to double check that. But I think it's when I become a resident, I took my information back as a resident, and they change it. They'll take your passport off and put your what do you call it? Your NIE number on there. I think it's when you become a resident. I'm sure it is. But they want your NIE anyway to confirm that you're here. So yeah, don't worry about it too much. And if you find anywhere, just message them ahead, because you can message a few of them and just say, look, because of the Brexit, there's delays on the NIE. Do you have any problems with me, renting a place? And then I'll sort it out. I've got an appointment or whatever. And most of them shouldn't actually say it's a problem, but it's worth checking, because it depends on the actual business. Because some of them would say, oh, we need, 2 references or whatever. And it's like, but I haven't lived in Spain before. So, or like you own your own property in Poland, or, no, yeah, sorry, I'm getting 2 people mixed up. You own your own property, so you haven't rented it. So who's going to give you a reference for a rental? You'd have to have character references. So that's why I say a lot of it is not as cut and dry as people make out, because sometimes you say, look, hang on a minute, but I don't live in Spain. I'm moving to Spain. I've just sold my house here or whatever. That's why it's worth getting an engagement with a real estate agent or whoever's renting it, so they understand your circumstances. Because one of the problems you do get here is some people are a bit of a pain, but I know a lot of people have their pensions or whatever. As soon as you've got a pension, they're seeing that's guaranteed money every month. So that's one of the things that instantly puts them like, oh, he's fine, blah, blah, blah. The same as if you can provide bank statements. They see that as validating the fact that you've got steady income. When I first moved here, I gave them 2 years worth of bank statements. They only want 3 months, but I give them 2 years to show that I have regular incomes. It puts peace of mind. Going the extra mile, even when they don't ask for it, often helps because they can see consistency. So just something to be aware of. Proud Brave One. Hi, Matt. Property management for vacation Airbnb properties. Yes, we do manage properties for people. You can contact us on torreviejaservices.com if you're interested. Helen Harker. Hi. Hope it's all going well. I'm just about to wrap up for the day because I've been on here for over 2 hours. So any last questions for the last 8 seconds before we hit 2 minutes and 6? 2 hours and 6 minutes. All right, it's 2 hours and 6. Okay, if you have any other questions, leave them on the next video, on this video below. And then what I'll do on the next video is I'll actually go over the questions below with people. Matt Fees, great value. No problem, mate. Take it easy. Glenn Roberts, good fishing. Thanks. Jan, bye. Bye, everybody. Have a great afternoon. And if you do enjoy the video, find it useful, whatever, please like, please subscribe. And if you can share as well, is very good. If you can copy the link and share it in things like Facebook and things, it really helps the channel grow as well. Take it easy, everybody, and have a great day.